Ken, it's been more than 2 months since American Airlines furloughed 19,000 employees and suspended flights to this airport. Students at ECU won't need one of these before returning to class this fall. I found out what led administrators to this decision. If you take a look here, you'll see one home has been completely torn apart. The tornado touched down 2 miles north of Belvoir. Today would have been the second presidential debate, but instead, President Trump is continuing his string of campaign rallies. Ken, Angie, Uptown Greenville is hosting #TakeoutUptown on social media. The goal is simple: get more people to order takeout and pick it up from these businesses. Boating is a popular activity, but if operators and swimmers aren't cautious at all times, it can be fatal. This is Lenore County's third manhunt for a wanted suspect in the last 4 months. Investigators tell me around 4:30 they caught Kenneth Piper within their search perimeter on the intersection of Parrott Dickerson and Bank School Road. If you take a look behind me, you'll see 2 concrete panels on the parking deck here on 4th Street. Artists will transform that blank space to give people living, working, and visiting Uptown Greenville something to admire. I'm actually standing in a pretty wide stance and I can feel the wind kind of pushing and pulling me. On Wednesday, Governor Cooper toured the mobile home park just south of Windsor, seeing what a tornado had done here.
This is devastating to see. I know that a lot of people are happy to be alive after this happened, but now they've got to pick up the pieces.
James Gordon is one of them.
Well, really, it's still shocking, but the worst part wasn't actually the storm itself, but it was the aftereffects.
With less damage to his home, he started helping neighbors.
Our home was a place for shelter for those because we had to bring the sick in, we had to bring the hurt in and everything, and we're just grateful for that.
Michael Sprayberry is North Carolina's emergency management director. He says recovery won't just be a short-term measure.
Some of these people have lost their entire homes entirely. So not only do we need to be thinking about temporary housing, we have to think about permanent, sustainable housing.
Sprayberry says local officials are assessing the damage. Then it's up to FEMA to issue a federal disaster declaration.
It is my hope and prayer that FEMA will approve this request and get the resources down to the local level as quickly as they can.
But this tornado took more than houses. It killed 62-year-old Randolph Harold and 52-year-old Lethea Ann Edwards, who's being remembered and mourned.
I'm gonna miss a sinner passing by, blowing the horn at her when she come in from work and stuff like that.
In this jail you see behind me, inmates are learning life skills and healing through music thanks to a program from Cry Freedom Missions. Today I found out why these efforts are so valuable. Every Thursday, inmates at Wayne County Jail sing together, learn together, and reflect on their lives.
From a lot of things that I've had gone through in life and stuff, it's brought me back to life.
Music is a universal language. It instills hope.
I love the music. I'm a big music fan.
But that's not all this program offers.
They teach us other things like, life skills. We do things about like budgeting and math and stuff like that, even parenting classes.
It teaches me the values of what I have to offer.
Beverly Weeks works in different jails across the state. She sees the value in each and every person at the detention center.
I am beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful.
She recognizes how limited mental health resources has hurt many of these women.
A lot of these women don't even need to be in jail. They don't need to be in jail. They need mental health services.
One inmate tells me she's learned that freedom begins in your own mind, and she's looking forward to her future.
There's things that they teach that, you put in place while you're here, and then you go outside and you use more of that.
Sheriff Larry Pierce encourages other county jails to provide these kinds of resources to inmates.
There's no reason why you can't offer them something while they are being in a detention facility to give them some hope.
I just love that I came to this place not knowing that I would have a second chance at life.
The vaccination is the quickest exit out of this global pandemic.
But the vaccine isn't as accessible to everyone across the East.
Especially in small towns and in rural areas, you know, people don't have the access to means to get to, to the cities.
That's why ECU's Brody School of Medicine teamed up with Winterville's Mayor Pro Tem and Pastor Darren Carmen to bring a COVID vaccination clinic to the rebuilt Christian Center Church.
Even if they can't get out of their cars, we're making sure that we bring it right to them. I would encourage people to do what needs to be done to be safe. We want you well. We want you alive.
This clinic gave anyone in the area the opportunity to get their first dose of hope.
I literally walked in, immediately got the vaccination, so I didn't have to wait hours. It's nice that it's small. It's in a place where people even around here can walk to.
But not everyone trusts the COVID vaccine. Chasna Skinner staged a one-person protest at the clinic. Her message?
To warn the people that the COVID-19 vaccine is not going to protect anyone.
Pastor Darren Carmen understands there are a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding the vaccine.
People are going to say things that are not accurate. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe, but they're not entitled to create their own truth.
Organizers share that the goal was to give 100 shots of the Moderna vaccine.
We feel like everybody needs this vaccine, so if that's what we got to do is bring it to them, then that's our part of our mission at ECU, to serve this community.
We are hanging the mental health awareness show, which has everything to do with mental health, healing, expression, recovery. It gives a platform for artists of all ages.
It is in this Greenville platform that you'll find the creations of James Nelson.
My son James was on the autism spectrum, and he led a very troubled life.
There's one part of Nelson's life that reflected his struggle, his art, and his creations are now on display among other works, all from people who've had their own struggles.
Each of these pieces is going to have a little description on what the artist was thinking and feeling when they, created it. Not everybody communicates the same way, but in the end, we all have representations of how we feel.
Jennifer Hodson knows how important it is for these artists to share their feelings through their work. That's because one of the artists is her daughter, Lauren.
At the time I painted this piece, I was feeling a lot of anxiety.
Lauren communicates through art, turning what she's feeling inside into something others can see.
Art is my element, it's my happy place. So seeing all these people who love what I love come together and do stuff like this, it just makes me really happy.
This exhibit at the Greenville Museum of Art is giving people viewing the work a way to send their own messages to these artists. Viewers can leave them notes.
How the artist is going to be getting that energy back from the people seeing their work.
The exhibit is also meant to educate and break down preconceptions surrounding mental health.
Everyone has mental health, just like everyone has physical health.
That's even something difficult for people dealing with their own mental health struggles.
My son never embraced a diagnosis or willingly accepted that he was having these difficulties. The stigma is so strong in society that people adopt it as their own stigma.
Dave Nelson says his son James found an outlet through his art.
He also was doing writing, and he was getting in touch with emotions and feelings that I don't think that he really had confronted.
But the father says his son found the struggle to be too much.
He was in a lot of pain, and through his own hand, he ended that pain.
Dave Nelson hopes parents will see this exhibit and encourage their children to explore and share their emotions.
If it doesn't come out in words, it may come out in art, and it's something to aspire to let them discover their feelings and find solutions. I wish that we had been more encouraging of it.
Nelson sees all these creations with the pride of a father, the pride he still has for his own son.
I wish he could see it. I think he'd be very proud right now. I am.
In Greenville, Ariana Kraft, 9 on your side.
it's all music. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, green, purple, blue, or whatever, it's all music.
Carol DeShiel traveled the world playing jazz, but found himself settling down in Greenville, North Carolina.
The typical thing happened, we were going to be here 3 years. Like 3 years and we're out. 31 years later, we're still here. I was the first African-American professor in the School of Music.
But for some, DeShiel in that job struck a wrong chord.
I found that not necessarily just in the School of Music, but in the area, there was this really big divide. It was white or black. There was really no intermingling, you know, no discussions.
DeShiel wanted to do something. This music man wanted to create more harmony.
You know, I tried to think of things that we could do musically that would bring the many different peoples together. And so I came up with several shows.
Then he realized someone started writing this score long before he moved here.
Dr. Billy Taylor, he was one of my mentors. And Dr. Taylor was probably one of the more significant jazz figures of the modern centuries. And he was born and raised in Greenville.
DeShiel hit on an inspiring note, a mural to honor Dr. Billy Taylor.
I think it shows the lineage from Dr. Billy Taylor when he was born here. Now, he was here, so that's part of our history, and showing that lineage from Dr. Taylor to our students, and then showing that lineage, and then where do we go from here? Who and how can we pass on this information? The music of jazz was a music that was, in my opinion, it was a music that was developed and started by African Americans. But now it's a music of all peoples.
DeShiel wants to see more people joining in, getting an appreciation of Greenville's African American roots.
My hope is that the opportunities to be inclusive of the African American heritage in our uptown area, in our arts district, I'm hoping that those opportunities will flourish.
And that the music of his people is in everyone's life. And it's venues like this that DeShiel hopes will continue to help grow and celebrate the African American music and culture here in Greenville. For Hidden History, I'm Ariana Kraft.